Broken Jacob's Quest, and last night I was able to watch Bob Marley One Love, the brand new not musical, but biopic of the musician Bob Marley. And yeah, like I've said before, when in regards to stuff like Napoleon and even Oppenheimer, I am not a world scholar, like historically wise, right? Like I don't know a lot of the history things. Like if you said something vaguely in the 70s, I'm like, yeah, I guess I kind of know what was happening, but depends on what part of the world it was in, right? And while this movie is definitely just about Bob Marley and his life, they definitely, it's based a lot around what was going on in the 70s in Jamaica and a brewing potential civil war, and a lot of political heat was happening in the moment. And the movie dips its toes in a lot of that, and it tries its best to explain kind of what was going on. But I think it's another one, kind of like Napoleon, where it definitely helps if maybe you already know the history, like the real world history of what was happening. Because, yeah, I was kind of like trying to play catch up the whole movie. I'm like, okay, but who is doing the shooting and why is this happening exactly? But the movie does focus mainly around Bob Marley and the Wailers, and they did this peace rally, and there was a shooting at his house, and he tries to kind of overcome that, and he goes to the States and he hits it big and he becomes really rich and famous, and then he eventually decides to come back to Jamaica, and he does another peace tour, and that's really the culmination of the movie, is like getting back to do this second peace tour in Jamaica, and then he goes on a tour in Africa. And I will say the movie, they go a lot into his Rastafarianism and the message that they're trying to spread, and I think that they focused on the right things for this being only a 2-hour movie. However, I did kind of leave wishing, like, I don't know, I guess I want like a 4-hour version of this, because I still have so many questions. I'm like, what was happening in Jamaica exactly? And we didn't really get to see any of the Africa tour, because, they kind of like mention like that's what he wants to do, and then the end credits are like, and then he managed to do this, and I'm like, okay, so we don't get to see that though. But they do kind of go over like after the shooting and the message he wants to send, and then there were a little bit of marital struggles. They kind of try to touch on a little bit of everything throughout his life, but I definitely felt the constraints of it just being 2 hours. And I think that's really my only negative about this movie, is that like it is the length of a movie, and you're trying to cover the life of this entire person. And some of these biopics have managed to streamline things really well and not leave you asking a whole lot of questions. I think Walk the Line was one of those, and this one does a good job, but I still left with so many questions. I'm like, okay, so hold on, he and his wife got in this argument, and there was other women at some point, but they don't really like get back to that and address it. And then his manager was like taking money from someone about the African tour, and they have like one fight about it, but they don't really come back and address it, And I'm like, you're like introducing things, but then like I feel like I should know the history, like it's like they're mentioning things that you should already know about, And I'm like, well, hold on, what happened there though? Did they fire the manager? Did they become friends again? Like, what happened? Because this is the guy that got shot at the house. I have questions, is all my only thing. Having said all that, I think this was a great performance from the actors who are portraying Bob Marley. And I'm not someone who's researched Bob Marley's life. I went through a Bob Marley phase in high school, like I listened to the music and stuff, and I went to high school in California, so there was a lot of people wearing the reggae colors, whether that was appropriate or not, that's up to you. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, just I enjoyed learning what I could from this. It definitely left me wanting to know more about the situation and what was going on. So if anything, the movie did a great job of like getting me curious more about what was happening with this guy's life and this time in Jamaica, and even like the marriage situation, because he seems to have had several kids that were not from his wife, and then his wife was talking to some other dude, and there was like a whole drama there, so like what's going on, but in any case, I definitely want to do some research on Rastafarianism and a lot of what the belief structure there was, because this was definitely a heavy in belief, type of music that he was spreading throughout his whole life, and that was like his main goal, was to spread this whole belief, right? And I'm also not entirely sure with how, like, what does the whole Christianity angle have to do, and then the Rastafarian thing, and then there was the Bible involved, and so I'm like, there's some kind of blend happening here, and I don't know enough about the logistics of it to fully grasp what I'm being presented. I think that's my main thing. And also, he kind of had like this interesting, they display his relationship with his father that he never knew, because his father was a white guy who left, and he keeps having these visions of this figure on a horse chasing after him and circling around him. And at first it's like his father, but then it's not his father, it's some other guy who, and I don't know if I don't know if this was like supposed to represent Jamaica or supposed to represent Rastafari, or what was, there's some deeper message happening here, and maybe it went over my head a little bit, but this is definitely something I feel like I gotta rewatch after I've done some more research on like his life and the culture and the religion and what was happening historically in this region of the world at the time, because there's definitely things I'm missing. I will also say this, of course, most of the cast has a Jamaican accent in this movie, and I was able to catch most of what was happening, what was being said, and I was understanding it pretty well. But other people might struggle with that, because there's a couple lines, especially when they're like yelling at each other and fighting, you're like, hold on, what are they saying? What are they, which, it's like an ear thing, right? Like, you just have to be able to catch and process what they're saying when they're, because they say everything with I, and they even explain that, by the way, why they say everything I instead of us or you. They say I, because it's supposed to be like a unity thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, see, I'm learning. And so I think that if nothing else, this is a movie that's going to help me learn about a whole other culture here, so I praise it for that, right? Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Bob Marley One Love. Are you Bob Marley fans? Or do you know about the history and the culture and what was happening and Rastafarianism and all this stuff? Because this movie is definitely going to make you curious about it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.